On the 28th of June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated while being driven through the streets of Sarajevo. This event is what many consider to be the catalyst for what would become known as the First World War. From 1914 to 1918, the global conflict changed the world forever, with around 8.5 million soldiers dying from disease or injuries during the war. Today, on Armed Forces Day, we commemorate and celebrate all who fought for our country during the First World War and all subsequent conflicts.
Dear Mum, I'm sorry I ain't written you for quite a while. Been really busy since we last spoke. A lot's gone on. I miss you more than words can describe. But I want you to know, before I start, I'm safe now, so please, don't worry. When I was called back to the army after they found out how old I actually was, I was posted to the Inniskillen Fusiliers. I was quite lucky in some respects, because I weren't the only one there from Bethnal Green. When I was at training camp at Aldershot, I found out that Bill and Alan from school in there too. God, that training camp was hard graft, though. I don't think I would have been able to got through it without my mates. Remember those days clear as anything. If you're woken up about 5:30 by a bugle call, and then you have an hour to sort yourself out, have a cup of Rosie Lee and so on. And then, well, at 6:30, you'd be out drilling on parade. Be there for about an hour and a half. Come back at 8 o'clock, have your breakfast, then you'd be back out on the parade square. Be drilling this time, learning all sorts of stuff, learning your about turns, your marches and so on. And at 12:15, you come back, have your lunch, and then you'd be back out on parade. God, there were some right characters there, though. God dear. That drill sergeant, he was particularly harsh. Proper miserable old bugger he was. I suppose that was his job. As much as we thought he was a prize pillock, he got the job done, I'll give him that. I've been looked after much better this time, though. See, I've got all the proper kit. I think my favourite bit of gear's got to be my rifle. My short magazine, Lee Enfield Mark III to be precise. She's a beauty. Anyway, I stayed there for about 4 months. Then after my training was done, I was sent off to France. I was excited, but I ain't ever met someone from France before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But they were nice, of course they were. We all had the same goal after all. But you see, when we first got to France, it weren't easy, because as soon as we got off the boat, we saw the horrors of the war straight away, walking towards us like some ominous warning for what was to come. Or the walking wounded, the ones that had to go home. We saw all sorts that day. Men walking on crutches, people being carried out on stretchers, but I think the thing that stuck with me more than anything else was the people that had been blinded. The ones that had bandages over their poor burning eyes. That was terrifying. Seeing 100 men walking towards you in single file. Well, they had to be in single file because they were relying on the person in front of them to lead the way, who was relying on the person in front of him, and so on and so forth. It really was the blind leading the blind, but I suppose that's the best way to sum up this war. It was a long old march to the battlefields, marching through all sorts of terrain, come rain or shine. We lost a few men along the way, of course we did, through exhaustion and dehydration. To be honest, towards the end I was starting to fade myself, but I knew there was an important task waiting at the end for me, and that kept me going. I knew I'd been sent on a mission from God to protect king and country, and I weren't going to shy away from my duties. Done a lot of growing up since I've been out here. It's the first time in my life I've ever felt like a real man. I hope I'm making you proud. See, since I've been out here, I've come to realise that the most important thing in the whole world is family. Before the war, I thought your family was just limited to the people you live with, but no. I've come to realise the whole country is our family, and it's that mindset what I think's going to win us this war. You see, throughout all the struggles and hardships we have out here, we're one, and nothing can take that away from us. Not even those horrible Germans. After marching for days, we finally arrived at the Somme. The fighting had been going on for quite some time before we got there. Everyone was exhausted, starving, broken. The atmosphere there was like a suffocating cloud. And it was at that moment I said goodbye to any thoughts of this being an easy victory. I had an horrible feeling this was going to be an hard slog, and I couldn't have been more right. And you see, because everyone had suffered great losses, we were put into hodgepodge units. We weren't all kept together. You had people from all over living on top of each other. They tried to keep us behind the lines for a little bit when we first got there. My guess was so we didn't get scared off. They kept on our row up as best as they could, but the problem was, most of the time we were just bored stiff, trying to keep ourselves occupied with playing cards, did drawings, read poems and so on. But the problem was, the atmosphere there was so tense, because we knew at any second there could be an attack and we'd have to spring into action. It was horrible. I've not slept properly since I've been out here. I swear no one sleeps properly when they're out here. You always have one eye open just in case of an attack. Or sometimes you're just too scared to go to sleep, in case you never wake up again. Of course, before long it was my turn to head down into the trench. I was really nervous before going in. Scared, even. Terrified. It was horrible. You see, I'd heard all sorts of stories of the trenches back behind the lines, and a part of me thought maybe they're just trying to scare off the new ones. But I think deep down inside I knew I was going to experience hell on earth. As I marched down into the trench, the air got thicker. The smell was just disgusting. Stagnant mud, stale water, gunpowder. This was the epitome of human suffering. You know, the trench was just like a never-ending corridor, countless turns leading off into the unknown. It's a miracle I never got lost in that deadly maze. Everywhere looked so similar. But after what seemed like an eternity, I was finally shown to me dugout. It was damp and horrible. But, in some respects, it was quite nice, you know. My own little bit of protection from the horrors of the outside. As I mentioned before, we were put into hodgepodge units, so I was actually stationed next to a Gurkha regiment. I was living in close quarters with one of their soldiers. Diane, his name was. Our men were brave going into that war, but I've not seen anything like those Gurkhas. They are some of the toughest and bravest men I've ever seen in my whole life, and I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of one of their attacks. But what I can't understand, what I can't get my head round is just how good-natured they are. Diane was one of the nicest blokes I've ever met. It was quite quiet for the first few days. I wouldn't say I was enjoying myself, but it weren't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The only problem was I had to get used to the horrible conditions. As I mentioned, we were living in close quarters with other soldiers, but what I forgot to mention, we also shared personal space with lice and rats. Oh, those lice got everywhere. They'd be in the folds of your skin, in your hair, even in between your toes. All we wanted was a nice hot bath to drown them all, but we didn't have such luxuries. In the end, I resorted to burning them off with the end of a coffin drag. Oh, the pain was excruciating, but I can't explain to you the relief I felt when they'd all gone. And then, of course, you had the rats. God, they were horrible, because those little buggers spread all sorts of diseases. Probably the only things out here dirtier than the Germans. And, of course, rats being rats, well, they'd eat anything and everything. So you'd have to make sure you kept your rations away from them, otherwise they'd be gone. And sometimes the rats would even start eating you. I know Alan woke up a couple of times to find a rat munching on his leg. There's just nothing nice about being out here. Within a few weeks, I'd experienced my first gas attack, and let me tell you this, nothing can prepare you for it. I was playing Zodiac with Diane. We were having a little bit of downtime when all of a sudden I heard shouting off in the distance. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but soon the shouts got closer. Gas! Gas! All of a sudden I found myself scrambling around trying to find the gas mask. I put it on just in time. Those two words sent the entire trench into absolute chaos. Everyone fumbling around trying to find their mask, and of course we had some blokes that had lost their mask trying to get their mask off dead soldiers. But by that point it was too late. They'd already breathed in too much of the toxic fumes. And soon they were lying on the floor, coughing their lungs up, screaming in agony. I've never seen anything more terrifying. A cloud of certain death rolling towards you and there's nothing you can do about it. That was terrifying. And the thing is, with the gas, not only does it stop you breathing, it also provides the perfect cover for the enemy. Because as sure as day is bright, after the gas came the flamethrowers. To be honest, the old attack was a bit of a blur. All I know is I got out of that trench and ran back behind the lines as quick as I possibly could. A whole group of us went back, but the poor sod at the back, he was too slow. And he got caught by the flamethrowers. I can still hear the deafening screams as he was set on fire. And I felt so helpless because all I wanted to do was go and save my fellow man, but the thing is, I knew if I went back to save him, it would be certain I'd have the same fate as him. It's a miracle I got back in one piece. I could have easily been picked off by a sniper or caught by the flamethrowers. You know, when I got back behind the lines, I found something out. I found out that before the war, most of the soldiers that used the flamethrowers were civilian firefighters. I don't understand that. How evil does a man have to be to go from saving people from fires to putting people in them? I don't understand. These people know how dangerous fire can be, but they still use it to cause damage. And they're cowards and all. They couldn't be any safer. They just come in with their gas masks, picking off the poor defenceless buggers that can't breathe and are running for their lives. It makes me so angry, but the thing is, I know I'm going to have the last laugh, because when they die, they're going to be burning in flames for eternity. Diane, he was so good with me after the attack. We became really close, like best mates. He kept talking to me all the time, just making sure I wasn't reliving the attack in my head. He was like my guardian angel out here, like a big brother. I found out that the Gurkhas have quite a lot of respect for the British, and maybe that's why he decided to help me, I don't know. All I do know is that I am so glad I met him. See, I hadn't seen Alan for quite a few weeks after the attack, and I thought, well, maybe his sections weren't gassed, and because I was behind the lines recovering, maybe I just didn't see him. And I was right, in some respects. See, another lad that I'd been fighting with, he came and found Bill and myself because he heard that we'd been asking about him. He took us over to one side and told us that a couple of days prior, their section was to make an offensive. They were going to try and take a German trench, which meant some of the lads had to go over the top. And Alan, bless his heart, was meant to be one of them. See, like all of us out here, Alan has seen unimaginable violence. Some people, that makes them oblivious and numb to any sorts of danger, but others it makes them paranoid and they just can't do anything. And that's what happened to Alan. Because when his officer gave him the call to go over the top, he couldn't go. He was frozen in terror. And because of that, they took him away, took him to the court-martial, and they tried him for cowardice. Cowardice. I don't think you find a single man out here that would call my Alan a coward. He's seen his friends die. You don't understand what that can do to a man. But of course, sadly, there was no denying that he disobeyed orders. So, they found him guilty. And you know what his punishment was? Death by firing squad. I'd heard about the firing squad and people being shot at dawn, but I just thought, well, surely that's something they made up just to scare us into doing as we were told. Surely no one would actually kill one of their own for something as small as that. But they did. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, break of dawn, on the 17th of November 1916, my best mate Alan was executed. No, he wasn't. He was murdered by the firing squad. Life ain't been the same without him. It's one thing seeing someone you met in the trench die, but it's someone you've known almost your whole life. It's just unexplainable. I tried to keep my head down as best I could. Get on when we worked, but knowing that my superiors might kill me if I didn't do as they said. Made me lose respect for them, you know. Maybe it's just because I'm angry that they killed my friend. I don't know. But one thing's for certain, it certainly changed everything for me. See, a few weeks went by. It's funny how you get used to the attacks. Of course, they're still terrifying, but they just become part of your daily routine. We had a really horrible one yesterday. Really horrible. You know, it was chaos. Shells flying everywhere, gunshots all over the place. It was horrible. And my section, we were to try and make an offensive this time, which meant I had to go over the top. And now I know exactly how Alan felt. The difference is, I knew what would happen to me if I didn't go over the top. So the officer gave his command, and with Diane by my side, I climbed up over the ladder and over the top. That officer was a fool for even suggesting we should go up. You know, we were so out of our depth, one by one. Our lads were picked off by the Germans. I said to myself, I had to try and keep myself low, keep myself grounded as best as I could. It was fine, I was walking along, but all of a sudden I found myself on the floor in the bottom of a crater. I thought, that's fine, I just tripped over. It happens all the time. I said, I will just wait here for a little bit until it was safe to go back up. And just as I was about to leave, I looked down at my leg and I noticed that my khaki uniform was now crimson red. As I looked closer, I saw 3 bullet wounds on my leg. I shouted out for Diane, knowing that me pleas would probably land on deaf ears. But to my surprise, he heard me and came back. He put a bit of pressure on the wounds. Got a pain with excruciating, but it helped with the blood loss. We had to wait until nightfall so it was safe to get me back to the trench, you know. It's a miracle I didn't die out here in no man's land. But when they got back, they took me straight to the hospital, and that's where I'm writing to you from now. Now, Mum, I know this sounds horrible and awful, but I'm safe now. I'm okay. Oh, there's one thing I need to say, and I think you're going to like it. Because of me injuries, they've deemed me unfit for service. So I'm coming home, and soon. I can't wait to see you again. I really thought I'd seen you for the last time and that I was going to die out here. When I get back, I'm going to hold you so tight, because I never want us to be separated ever again. All my love, Leonard. Keep the old fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your land is far away, I dream of home. There's a silver lining in the dark clouds shining. Turn the dark clouds inside out till the boys come home. Turn the dark clouds inside out till your boy